I'm going to title this video, The Ill Effects of a Trumpet. And what it's going to be about is sounds. Sounds we all make. But more particularly, sounds one makes to oneself. Are you following? So, when you speak, when no one else is around, it still has an effect. Speaking is meant for effect. Unlike thinking in your head, speaking actually does things, I have noticed. Reading out loud versus reading in your head. You begin to see the difference. Well, not really see, but you feel the difference. And over time, you do this enough, you pay enough attention to the difference, certain things become aware. No, they become pronounced and you become aware of them. I mean, like when you wake up and then you go back to sleep after you've had a full night's rest. And it's easier to enter into a lucid dream. Why is that? Why is it easier to enter into a lucid dream once you've already had your fill of sleep? Has it got something to do with your affected body? I mean, like after every time you read out loud, I tend to notice that I will start to get fidgety. Reading out loud, trying to prolong that. I will start to get fidgety. When I read in my head, I don't get the same kind of fidgety. I've noticed this. I've done a lot of reading throughout my life, and I've noticed this. And then it made me think about waking up and going back to sleep and how it's easier to enter into a lucid dream state once you've already slept. What I'm thinking is, like in my video, Dreams as Mutations and Ideational Deprivation, I am starting to consider the possibility that that the body wants to dream. The body wants unconscious dreams. The body desires, not really, but you get what I'm trying to say. The body yearns for information to process. And when you don't provide that information and you just go back to sleep, then you're going to sleep as an unaffected body. And so you're aware of the dream state. You're more lucid. than ever, because there's nothing more to process, no more information to process, and so you start to see what is actually making up the content of the dream, the substance, if any. It's after you've woken up from a full night's rest and gone back to sleep and entered into a lucid state that you realize dreams really are just information processing. They really are. There's nothing particularly special about them. It's just you are basically, think of it like you are a janitor and you've done your job on the night shift, and now you're staring at the clean vestibule of the high school, and everything's empty, but it's still a school. There's still the parts, the structure of the school, but it's not really alive. Whenever I enter into that lucid state after having a full night's rest, it's still a dream, but it's a dead dream, and it's interesting. I start to see how connected it is with the information of days before. So this brings me back to the whole point of this video, the ill effects of a trumpet. When you speak, as I'm speaking right now to you, this speech is intended for effect. When you speak to yourself, you will be having an effect on yourself. When you hear other people's speech, you will be affected. You know, we're not going into the we're not going to discuss in this video the stimulation of the eyes. I mean, that happens too. But in this video, let's strictly focus on speech and its effect. The effect of speech is many. The effect of speech is an effect that can disturb, that can enlighten, that can frighten, that can excite, that can manipulate, that can basically control your waking life, and without you even knowing it. So speech is dangerous. Speaking aloud when alone is dangerous. You think about prisoners who are isolated from the general population of the prison, and a lot of them speak. A lot of them cry out, and they don't think about the consequence to themselves of crying in isolation. Crying in isolation, what do you think that does to a body of effect? Do you think it has a good effect on the body? It doesn't. You know, imagine living in a world that was full of crying babies. It wouldn't do you any psychological good. It wouldn't do you any physiological good. Bad things would manifest. You know, you think about grief, and how, sometimes with some people, grief ages people. It ages people decades. And that's due to, partly, I think, hearing one's own speech. being affected by it. You know, you get lonely, or you get angry, and all of a sudden you start talking to yourself because you have nobody else there to talk to. But you don't realize that by talking to yourself, you are affecting yourself. And so you just keep talking to yourself over and over again and again and again. And, you know, it happens through the course of years. You become all haggard from the effect that your speech caused. Talking about dreams again. The whole point of the dream, the unconscious dream anyway, is to process the effects of information throughout the day, throughout the waking life. Imagine how much more information there is to process when not only are other people, is the whole culture you're a prisoner of, giving you an effect, but you yourself are then giving yourself more effect. And then you wonder why people get trapped in conditions of living that are generally unappealing. Something to think about, right? Anyway, there's a reason why you should read in your head. At my old school, in the library, there was this poster thing. It said, sit down, shut up, and read. SSR. And I agree with that now. At least, you know, you know, until I figure out the right way to talk to oneself, because clearly there is a right and a wrong way, but nobody knows. So until I figure that out, I best just talk in my head to myself, because that doesn't make me fidgety. That isn't having an effect in physics. A lot of speech has an effect in physics, usually having an ill effect. Anyway, something to think about, right? Have a good day.